before we get into today's Cowboys Report, whoever comments the most on today's show in the comments section will get a shout out on a future video. This requires you to comment like 50 to 60 times minimum, so type in whatever you want to. Flood the comment section, individual comments. The most one will get a shout out on a future show. Some interesting trade rumors, or not just trade, I mean general rumors out there for the Cowboys. First up, this idea from Bryan Broaddus was that, hey, the Cowboys, maybe they should start Juanyeh Thomas over Donovan Wilson, over Marquise Bell, over the other safety options alongside Malik Hooker, which I am at least somewhat intrigued by. I am a fan of what Juanyeh Thomas offers. I liked what I've seen in what is admittedly a fairly small sample size for the young safety. If you've watched our videos last year, I know a lot of us agreed on it. He should have been playing over Jaron Kearse. I thought when he was out there, he was pretty solid. I would still, at least as of now, I reserve the right to change my mind based on how training camp and the preseason go. I would think this is a little too aggressive for me to make him a starter. On the roster, absolutely. Full-fledged starter, slow down a little bit there. Again, I liked what I saw last year. Again, it was a small sample size out of Juanyeh Thomas, but when he played, I do think he played pretty well. And I think there's a lot of value for this type of player on the roster, and it's part of what Broaddus was alluding to with the. And I think he can do some box safety stuff. I think he can do some strong or free safety stuff for you. Is interchangeable the way Mike Zimmer tends to like those players. I thought he played really well against the Bills when he came in and kind of got some playing time there. And one of his more snap games beyond the Week 1 hilarious outcome against the Giants. And there's also immense special teams value there with Thomas too. But I have Malik Hooker. I have Donovan Wilson. I have Marquise Bell. Let's start with the Wilson angle here because he's kind of the incumbent. And in my head, I do picture some rotations at safety. I don't think it's going to be just a one-man show at the position. And I picture Donovan Wilson, who I think is at his best going north to south. I think you can line him up as a double-A gap blitzer alongside Micah Parsons or Eric Kendricks, and I think that would work really well for Donovan Wilson. He brings some of the physicality that at times, I don't know if that's always present for this team. Didn't have any sacks last year. He did have 5 in 2022, however, which I also don't think should be overlooked. And it kind of felt like it many times last year. When Wilson was on, when he was playing well, the Lions game, the Dolphins game, the second Eagles game, we had the fumble recovery and a forced fumble. Felt like the Cowboys often at least played well defensively. Games where he was pretty quiet, maybe not so much. But there is talent in this safety room, and I think it's in better shape than what it's been in a long time. As some of you longtime watchers know how much I like safeties and how much I complain about that room in previous years. So how would you grade this current Cowboys safety room? A, B, C, D, or F? You can go to the pinned comment and let me know how you grade that safety room right now. I don't know I'd give it a full-fledged A because I would argue maybe you want a higher end, top-end safety to give it a true A. But I think you've got 4 guys, including Thomas, who could genuinely start. So at minimum, that should be a B because I think you've got really good options there overall in that room. That includes Marquise Bell, by the way, who I thought was outplaying Damone Clark last year, and I thought was, especially in coverage, was one of your better back 7 players. We'll group them all together from that angle. I think he's going to play more safety. I want to get him on the field. Tough for me to get Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson and Marquise Bell and Juanyeh Thomas on the field at the same time. Hooker was kind of the safety valve last year. It was a solid tackle. When he had to make tackles, he normally made them. Outside of, the one bad angle against Garrett Wilson, maybe a few other if he plays here and there. I thought he was steady and reliable. I'd like to see more splash plays, but he, in many ways, was the epitome of, hey, I didn't get beat. And sometimes, if you're not going to be the elite rangy free safety, that's kind of what you're angling for. So, very good room. Superstar player, no, but everything else I think you kind of have. So, I don't know if that means Juanyeh Thomas is going to carve out a starting role for this organization. Now, the goal is 200,000 subscribers here during the season upcoming for the Cowboys. We are 157 away from 189K, the next step forward there. Get free Cowboys videos every single day when you guys are subscribed. Now, NFL Trade Rumors, who seems like a weird site, actually do a lot of good work, like aggregating a bunch of different information and citing it properly. I actually do like their stuff. Some of their original content, not always as in love with, including the idea that, hey, how about Dalvin Cook to the Dallas Cowboys? I am not interested here. And the reason being is he was bad last year. And you can wind back the clock, and I'm like, if you want to bring Dalvin Cook in cheap, sure. But the signs of decline had already been there for Dalvin Cook from a raw statistical perspective, where the average had dropped, where the efficiency had dropped, the success rate had dropped, that the advanced numbers were not looking very good. And then it got really bad in New York. And outside of one carry in Baltimore, he didn't do anything there in the playoffs either. You know, Cook now making comments about how, I want to be with the team for training camp. You have an offer? I don't think he does, frankly. So I do feel bad saying this, but shelf lives for backs kind of fall off quickly. I think he's Dalvin Cook now. And to be clear, I made this comment when Zeke signed, even at the, advanced stage of Ezekiel Elliott's career, I think Zeke clears Cook fairly easily. I think Zeke is a better football player who offers a little bit more efficiency and a higher floor than Cook, who didn't have really that many big plays, and they were too far in between. It wasn't just a bad Jets offensive line on offense, right? Because Breece Hall was way better than him. Kind of a red flag. So would you sign Dalvin Cook? I believe in democracy. You don't always have to agree with me. Y for yes, N for no in the comments section. Now, Bleacher Report, speaking of running backs, called Cam Akers the best free agent option out there for the Cowboys. Let's let Bleacher Report make their argument before I call them silly. The soon-to-be 25-year-old possesses a rare blend of upside and proven ability that no other free agent running back can offer. He'll be worth the dice roll for anything that can spare a roster for a high-ceiling backup. With a fading Ezekiell Elliott set to lead a backfield that largely lacks promise and experience behind the aging veteran, Akers could potentially take over as Dallas's top option as early as this coming season. So first off, are we sure about that? In fact, are we sure about any of that, what was said as I throw my pen like a crazy person? I don't think that's true. Why do we think Cam Akers has super high upside? In his career, he is a 4-yard per carry back. That is what he has been, a replacement level runner who also was not very heavily involved in the passing game, oh, by the way. And I think maybe the biggest thing we're mixing is, hey, he tore that Achilles in 2021. Kind of shocked he came back and, relatively speaking, had probably his best year ever in 2022. Then he was terrible in 2023. The Rams made him the starter and then benched him after a game, flipped to Minnesota, and then he tore his other Achilles. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think 2 Achilles tears in 4 years is upside. I think that's a bad thing. And it's not like he was playing great in the 2023 campaign, or he's ever been a superstar caliber runner. Rico, again, Ezekiell Elliott outplayed him last season, I think pretty clearly. Royce Freeman was picked by the Rams over Cam Akers at one point last year. So I think the idea of Cam Akers is fun. The reality, maybe not so much. I mentioned Zeke a few times. You can get his number 15 jersey over at chatsports.com/Zeke15 jersey. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. You can also check kind of the other corner. You'll see a little clickable. It popped up right when we started this mention of the Zeke15 jersey. Also takes you right to the Fanatics site, so it can save you some time there. Chatsports.com/Zeke15 jersey. We didn't really mention this coming out of minicamp, so I think now is a good time to get to it here. Micah Parsons, among other comments he made, because he hadn't spoken with media since the season ended last year, so there were a lot of questions for Micah. He's content to wait for a new deal because, correctly, he knows whenever that happens, he will reset the market among non-quarterbacks. Here's what Micah said on the eventual contract extension. I'm patient. Patience is a virtue. I'm waiting my turn. Let CeeDee go get whatever. Let Dak get whatever. This market is just going to jump up, and the cap goes up again next year. They're talking about these contracts for a high-caliber player might be up to $40 million by then. For the most part, Micah is not wrong here. And a $300 million salary cap is not very far away. Doubt that happens next year, but 2 to 3 years, that's that Netflix, Amazon Prime, Peacock money hitting the books. It's going to skyrocket. Now, I don't know about $40 million for Micah. That might be pushing it a little bit. But whenever and wherever he gets paid, it's going to, as long as he doesn't keep this play going, he's been very special for his first 3 years. Most ever, non-quarterback money. And, again, $40 million on a $270 million salary cap, or, $36 million, whatever on that cap is, it's not that different than what you had to pay DeMarcus Ware all those years ago when the salary cap was much, much lower. Or even what Tank Lawrence got, by the way. Now, the issue is, Cowboys don't like setting the market. They've made comments about that previously. And we know how the Cowboys do business come contract time. It might get a little bit ugly. So you can be honest with me, because I get that there are some frustrations here. Would you make Micah Parsons the highest paid non-quarterback? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I think we'll see some 2s. Now, I'll say this right now. You can pay Dak and Micah if you want to. All your big contracts are off the books. We've discussed Zach Martin. Tank Lawrence going to be a free agent. You're Tyron Smith off the books. Zeke off the books. You don't have any really big contracts going out there. Now, in general, when it comes to Micah, I get the frustration of, he makes, I think this part was fair. He makes comments about wanting to be a leader, changing the culture. You can't do that if you're not at OTAs. I think there are times where Mike is just like, okay, just stop. Just go make plays, right? Which isn't always fair, but that is some of the sentiment there. It's also tough to find this caliber of player. You don't find players who put up this level of production who are so athletic and productive against the run, especially at defensive end, more so than off-ball linebacker from what we've seen so far. But as a pass rusher, those guys are rare. You don't move on from DeMarcus Ware. You don't move on from even a Charles Haley. Now, Haley did get moved on from sometimes. Sometimes you got to manage those guys a little bit more. I forget who said it, but it was like, to an extent, as long as the off-the-field stuff is on the straight and narrow, it's kind of gas prices. I don't actually care that much about gas prices. What am I going to do? Not get gas? My car's got 10 miles left. I got to get gas. I think as long as you trust the off-the-field stuff and, the gas tank isn't leaking, you just pay them and you deal with it. Also of note, Myles Garrett is not that far removed from being due for a new deal. Max Crosby is due for a new deal very soon. Those guys will probably also reset the market, or at least try to. So the only thing I'll say with Micah is, look, I don't like trading away superstar players. As long as that play does not fall off, and by the way, I'm going to put workout bonuses in that contract. It's going to be in there. I want him at OTAs. As long as the play doesn't fall off, it's not some weird Jalen Smith 2.0 thing, pay him. Because the odds of you finding another pass rusher who can do the production that Micah Parsons did actually isn't all that high.